He risked everything in the frozen depths and everything changed. Captain Elias Wren tightened his gloves as the freezing wind whipped across the surface of Europa. The ice stretched endlessly in every direction, cracked and glittering under the dim light reflected from Jupiter above. The small human research vessel behind him seemed fragile against the enormity of the frozen world. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also deadly. Any wrong step could send a person plunging into a crevasse, hundreds of meters deep, and the thin metal shell of the ship would offer no protection against the relentless cold. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the bite of the freezing air in his lungs. Years of space exploration had taught him to respect danger, but this mission felt different. Europa had always been a mystery, a frozen moon hiding secrets beneath its icy shell. Now, for the first time, humans had the technology to dig deeper than ever before, and Elias would be the one leading the way. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Singh, her voice tense through the radio link. "The ice drill is ready. Sensors show an anomaly about 30 meters down. This is unusual. It's like nothing we've ever detected before." Elias glanced at the readout. The energy readings were strange, spiking and pulsing in patterns that no one could immediately explain. "Unusual is good," he said, his lips curling into a small smile. "If everything were normal, we wouldn't be here, would we?" Mara hesitated. "Right, but you do realize how dangerous this is. A mistake, and we die?" "Yes, I know." Elias's voice was calm, almost detached, but inside his heart raced. Danger had a way of sharpening his mind. He thrived on it. That's why I volunteered. The team had been preparing for this mission for months. Years, really. Europa's icy crust was difficult to penetrate, and the equipment had to withstand pressures and temperatures that would destroy ordinary machines. The drill that now hummed beneath their feet was the pinnacle of human engineering, capable of cutting through ice while maintaining stability in unpredictable conditions. Still, as Elias looked down at the glinting drill, he felt a shiver run through him, not from cold, but from anticipation. Elias called Dr. Hevel, the mission's lead scientist. "You do realize this could be the discovery of a lifetime? What's down there? We might not even be able to imagine it." "I imagine it," Elias replied simply, "and then I'll figure it out." With a signal, the drill began to descend. The ice was surprisingly solid at first, a clear sheet that reflected the ship's lights in jagged, crystalline patterns. Then deeper down, the structure changed. Layers of compressed ice, interspersed with mineral deposits, gave way to anomalies in the readings. Small sparks of unknown energy danced along the drill's sensors. "Captain, I'm reading fluctuations," Mara said. "It's reacting to the drill." Elias frowned. "Reversing rotation." Slow descent. He watched as the drill adjusted, responding to the subtle vibrations beneath the ice. Whatever lay below wasn't just random rock or ice. It was something deliberate, something constructed. Hours passed. The team worked in tense silence, monitoring the instruments and supporting the drill as it penetrated deeper into the frozen crust. Finally, the drill cut through to a large hollow beneath the ice cavern, large enough to hold the research vessel itself. Though miles below the surface, Elias's breath caught. He'd seen a lot in his years of space exploration, but nothing like this. The cavern walls shimmered with a strange, faint glow. Crystalline formations jutted out at impossible angles, reflecting light in ways that made it seem like the ice itself was alive. And at the center of it all, something larger, more imposing, seemed to pulse with energy. "It's massive," whispered Dr. Havel, a clear in her voice.
What?
"It's not natural. It has to be. Something else." "Something else indeed," Elias said. His mind raced. Humanity had always wondered whether they were alone in the universe. They had found nothing definitive, just hints and distant signals. But here, beneath Europa's frozen shell, the evidence was staring them in the face. A structure, clearly artificial, hidden away for perhaps millions of years, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to find it. Captain Mara's voice was tense now. "We should be careful. We don't know what this is. It could be dangerous." Elias nodded. "I know. And that's why I'm going in." The team exchanged worried glances. Elias's reputation for risk-taking was well known. He had survived missions that no one else could, often relying on instinct and ingenuity rather than caution. But even they knew that this was a different kind of risk. This was not just about surviving harsh conditions. It was about stepping into the unknown, where human experience could offer no guide. Suiting up, Elias began his descent into the cavern. The ice walls glowed softly, illuminating his path. He felt the weight of the suit, the pressure of the air supply, but most of all, he felt a strange excitement that made his fingers tingle. Something was waiting for him down there. He intended to find out what. The deeper he went, the more alien the cavern became. The ice seemed almost organic, curving and twisting in ways that no natural process could explain. Strange symbols appeared on the walls, etched or grown into the ice itself, glowing faintly as he passed. Elias studied them closely. They were not random. They were patterns, sequences, a language of light and geometry. He stopped for a moment, touching the ice with his gloved hand. A pulse ran through his arm, a subtle vibration that seemed to respond to his presence. Elias's heart raced. Whatever this structure was, it was alive in some sense, aware of him. "Captain?" Mara's voice crackled through the radio. "You're reading stable readings, right? I need you back at the drill site in an hour." "I'll be fine," he said. "This is exactly where I need to be." Time seemed to stretch as he moved through the cavern. The scale of the space became apparent, tunnels opening into enormous chambers, each filled with strange ice formations that refracted the faint light in dazzling patterns. Elias realized that whatever created this place had intended it to endure. He felt small, insignificant even, but at the same time, strangely important. He was the first human to walk this ground. Finally, he reached the center of the cavern. There it was, larger than he had imagined, a device of some kind, pulsing with energy. It seemed to be both solid and fluid at the same time, like liquid metal frozen in perpetual motion. Strange lights danced across its surface, and faint hums vibrated through the air. Elias approached cautiously. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to leave and report back, but his curiosity was stronger. He reached out, letting his fingers hover just above the surface. The moment he did, the device reacted. A burst of light shot up, illuminating the cavern in dazzling colors. Symbols on the walls flared, patterns shifting as if reading him. He staggered back, shielding his eyes. Then, slowly, the light subsided. Elias lowered his visor and looked again. The device had not harmed him. Instead, it seemed to recognize him. Breathless, he whispered to himself, "This is incredible. It's absolutely incredible." Suddenly, the ice beneath him trembled. Small fissures appeared in the cavern floor, spreading slowly but steadily. Elias realized that whatever energy the device emitted was destabilizing the ice. He could hear the faint cracking above him. "Captain?" Mara's panicked voice came through. "The fissures are spreading. You need to get out." Elias looked back at the cavern entrance. The path he had taken now treacherous. He knew he could retreat, leave the mystery for another day. But something inside him would not allow it. The device had chosen to reveal itself to him. There was more to discover, and humanity's future could depend on it. He tightened his grip on his equipment and took a deep breath. "Not yet," he muttered. "I'm not done." As the fissures grew and the cavern began to shake, Elias pressed on, moving deeper into the alien structure. Every step was a risk. Every movement could trigger collapse. But he felt alive in a way he had never known. The unknown had a rhythm, a challenge, and he was ready to meet it. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes' time had no meaning in the alien glow. Elias's mind focused on the task at hand. Every decision critical. The device pulsed again, brighter this time, responding to his approach. And in that moment, he understood. He was not just exploring. He was communicating. Somehow, his presence, his courage, his ingenuity were being tested. Finally, he reached the edge of a massive ice pool. The device floated above it, its lights reflecting in the liquid surface. Elias stared, feeling a mixture of fear and awe. One step forward, one touch, and the world he knew might change forever. He stepped closer, and then he paused, listening. The hum of the device, the crackle of shifting ice, the faint wind from above, it all seemed to speak a single truth. Discovery was never safe. But without risk, humanity would never grow. Elias took a deep breath, was ready to risk everything, and he knew, in his bones, everything would change. Elias stood at the edge of the glowing ice pool, his breath visible in the frigid air of the cavern. The device hovered just above the surface, its lights pulsing in soft, rhythmic waves. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, neither fully solid nor fully liquid, as if it existed between states, defying human understanding. Every instinct in his body told him to step back, to return to safety. Yet a stronger voice, the voice of curiosity of the human spirit, urged him forward. He took a slow step, then another, his boots crunching softly against the ice. As he approached, the device seemed to respond, shifting slightly in the air, as if acknowledging his presence. Elias raised a gloved hand and let his fingertips hover just above the pulsating surface. A sudden shock ran up his arm, not painful but startling. His vision blurred for a moment, and images flashed in his mind. He saw vast cities of humans exploring space, starships gliding between planets, colonies thriving on distant moons. He saw humans solving impossible problems, building machines and tools no one thought possible. Then the images shifted, darker this time. He saw humanity failing, torn apart by fear, by ignorance, by inaction. He saw great cities reduced to rubble, ships lost in deep space, civilizations collapsing under their own mistakes. Elias staggered back, blinking rapidly. The visions had been brief, but vivid. And the message was clear. This device, whatever it was showing impossibilities, both human greatness and human failure. He steadied himself, gripping the edge of the ice pool. This is incredible, he whispered. It's showing me what we could be, and what we could lose. The device pulsed again, this time in a slower, deliberate rhythm. The vibrations beneath his feet intensified slightly, and Elias realized that the cavern itself was responding to the device's activation. Ice trembled, water rippled, and the air seemed to hum with energy. It was alive, in some way, aware of him. He took another cautious step forward. The device emitted a soft, almost musical tone, and the images returned. But now, instead of distant visions, he saw tasks, challenges, mathematical patterns floating in the air, mechanical puzzles forming and dissolving, sequences that tested logic and intuition. The device was not only revealing knowledge, it was testing him. Elias felt a thrill of excitement. This was not a passive discovery. It demanded participation, demanded courage, intelligence, and adaptability. It was as if the device was saying, "Show me what your species can do." He knelt by the edge of the ice pool, studying the floating patterns. They shifted in response to his gaze, as if following his thoughts. He reached out, touching one of the glowing symbols. Immediately, the ice beneath him rippled, sending small waves across the surface of the pool. The patterns rearranged themselves, forming a new sequence, more complex, more demanding. Double quotes. "Think, Elias, adapt," he murmured to himself. He leaned in, observing the sequence closely. His mind raced, breaking the pattern into smaller parts, deciphering the logic step by step. Hours or what felt like hours passed in a blur of concentration. Each solution prompted a new challenge. Each success revealed another layer of the device's mysteries. Meanwhile, Team Above Ground monitored his progress anxiously. Mara's voice came through the combs, tight with concern. "Captain, we're reading fluctuations in the ice. It's unstable down there. You need to come back now." "I can't," Elias replied, his voice calm despite the rising tension. "I'm on the verge of understanding it. This could change everything." The fissures in the ice floor had grown since he first entered the cavern, thin cracks branching outward like frozen lightning. Elias knew that the slightest misstep could trigger a collapse. Yet he pressed on, guided by intuition and human ingenuity. Each puzzle solved brought a small wave of energy from the device, as if rewarding him, and each reward made him bolder. At one point, a pattern appeared that he could not immediately decipher. Complex geometries floated in the air, shifting constantly, almost mocking him. He studied it from every angle, moving around the ice pool, testing every hypothesis. Finally, with a sudden insight, He arranged the sequence in his mind, aligning logic with intuition. The device pulsed brighter than before, and the pattern dissolved into shimmering light. Elias felt a surge of triumph. This was more than discovery, it was mastery. The device was not simply technology. It was a mirror of human potential, responding to creativity, courage, and intelligence. He realized that it was not testing him randomly. It was showing him what humans could achieve if they dared to act boldly, if they refused to accept limits. But the exhilaration was tempered by danger. The fissures in the ice were spreading faster now, small chunks breaking off into the icy water below. Elias could feel the vibrations through his boots, subtle but insistent. He knew the cavern could collapse if he pushed too far, too recklessly. He paused, weighing the risk. Retreat would be safe, but it would mean leaving the device partially understood. If humanity were to benefit, he had to take calculated risks. He adjusted his suit and equipment, preparing for the next phase of exploration. The device responded, sensing his resolve. Its lights shifted to a steady, welcoming glow, and a faint energy pulse flowed outward, stabilizing the immediate ice beneath him. Elias moved closer to the heart of the pool. Strange, floating structures had formed above the water, delicate, crystalline forms, as if the device was creating a bridge between human and alien understanding. He reached out, touching one of the crystalline formations. Instantly, the device projected a new vision, a map of the solar system, with Europa at its center. Lines of energy connected distant worlds, forming pathways of knowledge, trade, and exploration. Elias understood instinctively that the device was offering a blueprint not just for survival, but for human advancement on a cosmic scale. Yet it was not giving answers freely. The energy lines flickered and shifted whenever he hesitated, as if demanding decisiveness. Elias realized that the device required courage as much as intelligence. He had to commit to act boldly. If humanity was to gain from this discovery, he pressed forward. Following the pathways projected in the air, the ice pool began to glow, its surface reflecting the brilliant patterns above. Each step he took seemed to harmonize with the device, and the fissures in the ice responded, stabilizing as if recognizing his careful movements. Elias felt a strange connection, forming a bond between human will and alien technology. Hours or maybe minutes later, he reached the center of the projection. A small, hovering orb of pure energy materialized above the pool. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Elias understood immediately. This was the core, the heart of the device, and it was offering a choice. Touch the orb, and humanity would gain access to knowledge and technology far beyond current understanding. But the risk was immense. A wrong move could destabilize the cavern entirely, burying both Elias and the device beneath tons of ice. He hesitated for only a moment. Humans had always advanced by taking risks, by choosing courage over comfort, curiosity over fear. He extended his hand and touched the orb. A surge of energy flowed through him, warm and electric. Images flashed in his mind: equations, star maps, designs for machines that defied conventional physics. He understood concepts that would take years, maybe centuries, for ordinary humans to grasp. The cavern trembled violently, ice cracking and shifting all around him. Elias's training kicked in. He stabilized himself, calculating pressure points, balancing carefully. The orb pulsed in his hand, projecting knowledge and energy, and then slowly the tremors subsided. Elias fell to his knees, exhausted but exhilarated. The device had accepted him, recognized his courage and ingenuity. He had survived the first test. And now, humanity had a chance to rise. He looked around the cavern, breathing heavily. The floating patterns dissolved, leaving the crystalline formations and the glowing ice pool. The fissures remained, but they were no longer spreading uncontrollably. Elias had learned to move with the energy of the device, not against it. "Captain." Mara's voice came again, urgent but awed. You've stabilized it. How? How did you?" Elias smiled faintly. "By doing what humans do best," he said. "By thinking, adapting, and taking risks when it matters most." The team watched as he began to make his way back to the cavern entrance. Every step was careful, every movement deliberate. Yet despite the danger, Elias felt alive in a way he never had before. He had touched something far greater than himself. It had responded. Above him, the light from Jupiter reflected through the ice in dazzling patterns. Below, the alien device pulsed softly, as if waiting for the next challenge. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The frozen depths had tested him, revealed human potential, and hinted at a future where humanity could rise to meet the stars. And he knew, deep in his soul, that nothing would ever be the same again. Elias moved cautiously through the cavern, each step measured and deliberate. The alien device floated above the ice pool behind him, its light dimming slightly, as if content with the progress he had made. But Elias knew better than to trust calm. This place, though mesmerizing, was still unpredictable. The frozen depths had already tested him once, and he had survived only by adapting quickly, thinking clearly, and acting decisively. He doubted the next challenge would be easier. The cavern stretched ahead, opening into a larger chamber. The walls glimmered with crystalline structures, refracting the faint light into a rainbow of colors that danced across the ice floor. The patterns from the device still lingered in the air, floating faintly, almost as if they were guiding him toward something deeper. Elias followed them, moving slowly to avoid cracks in the ice that had not yet fully stabilized. Every sense was alert, every nerve on edge. Suddenly, the floor beneath him trembled. Small chunks of ice shifted, creating jagged ridges that threatened to trip him. He froze, analyzing the pattern of movement. The fissures were growing again, responding to something. He realized then that the device's influence extended beyond its immediate vicinity. It was shaping the environment, testing him indirectly by creating obstacles that required both physical agility and strategic thinking. Elias adjusted his path, leaping over a fissure just as it widened beneath him. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to breathe evenly. Survival in these depths required control over fear, not avoidance of it. He knew he could not afford hesitation. The cavern demanded action. Ahead, the chamber opened into an enormous space, larger than any he had yet seen. Massive ice pillars rose from the floor to the ceiling, some fractured, some intact, forming a forest of frozen columns. At the center, a platform of crystalline ice floated above a pool of liquid that shimmered with energy. The alien device hovered above the platform, pulsing softly, as if inviting him closer. Elias approached cautiously. The energy emanating from the pool was intense, and he could feel it humming through his suit. As he stepped onto the floating platform, the ice beneath him shifted slightly, testing his balance. He adjusted immediately, relying on instinct and experience. The platform stabilized, acknowledging his control. Then, the first test began. Shapes of light emerged from the energy pool, forming obstacles in his path. Some resembled barriers, others seemed almost alive, moving unpredictably. Elias realized that these were challenges designed to test not just his intelligence, but his courage, his reflexes, and his ability to adapt under pressure. He moved quickly, weaving between the shifting barriers. One column of light lunged toward him, and he ducked instinctively, rolling across the icy surface. Another pulse of energy forced him to leap to a higher section of the platform, landing with precision to avoid slipping into the shimmering liquid below. Each movement required split-second judgment. A single mistake could be fatal, yet hesitation would be equally dangerous. As he progressed, the challenges grew more complex. Patterns of energy blocked his path in geometric sequences that required careful observation and quick calculation. He deciphered the sequences, moving through openings that appeared only when he correctly predicted the next shift. His mind raced, aligning logic with instinct, human ingenuity with the alien challenge. Hours or maybe minutes passed in a blur. Elias lost track of time, entirely focused on the task before him. The energy patterns tested everything he had: courage, creativity, and resilience. Occasionally, he felt a surge of doubt, a flicker of fear that he might fail. But each time, he reminded himself of why he had come here. Humanity depended on those willing to push boundaries, to take risks, to face the unknown. Finally, he reached the center of the platform. where a pedestal of crystalline energy rose above the pool. On top of it hovered a small orb, glowing with intense light. The orb pulsed in rhythm with the alien device above, and Elias understood instinctively that this was the next phase of the trial. He approached slowly, aware that the challenges were far from over. The orb reacted to his presence. Light flared, and suddenly the platform shifted violently. Ice columns moved unpredictably, and energy barriers surged toward him from all directions. Elias reacted quickly, jumping, dodging, and using his environment to his advantage. Each movement was precise, calculated, and necessary. Failure was not an option. He reached the pedestal, extending his hand toward the orb. As soon as his fingers brushed its surface, a wave of energy pulsed outward. Images filled his mind, faster and more intense than before. He saw entire civilizations rise and fall, technologies that stretched the limits of imagination, and visions of humanity reaching the stars. The orb was showing him possibilities, paths that required courage, wisdom, and unity to achieve. But there was a warning as well. The orb projected potential disasters, humanity divided by fear, technology misused, and opportunities lost due to hesitation or cowardice. Elias understood that the device was not just offering knowledge, it was demanding responsibility. Humans could achieve greatness, but only if they chose wisely and acted boldly. The energy pulse subsided, and the cavern fell silent. Elias lowered his hand, breathing heavily. The platform beneath him stabilized, and the orb floated calmly, waiting. He realized that he had passed the first true test. The device had evaluated his courage, his intelligence, and his willingness to risk everything. And it had deemed him worthy, at least for now. Yet the trial was far from over. The cavern trembled again, more violently this time. Ice cracks widened rapidly, and chunks began to break away, plunging into the energy pool below. Elias knew he had to move quickly. He retraced his steps across the platform, navigating the shifting energy patterns with the precision that had carried him this far. At one point, a section of the platform collapsed beneath him. He leaped instinctively, grabbing onto a nearby crystal pillar, swinging his body to safety. The energy patterns pulsed in response, almost as if acknowledging his skill. Elias landed, heart pounding, sweat mixing with the frost on his face. He knew that each challenge was designed not just to test him, but to teach him, to push him beyond what he thought possible. Finally, he reached the edge of the platform, where the cavern opened into a vast tunnel lined with glowing ice walls. The alien device floated ahead, pulsing steadily as if inviting him to continue. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward, aware that the real journey was only beginning. The tunnel stretched endlessly, twisting and turning in ways that defied normal geometry. The ice walls shimmered with strange symbols, some glowing faintly, others flashing with intense light. Elias realized that these symbols were a form of communication. Guiding him through the labyrinth and testing his ability to interpret patterns, he moved cautiously. Following the glowing sequences, occasionally the tunnel would open into chambers filled with obstacles, frozen spikes, shifting ice floors, and floating energy barriers. Each required quick thinking and precise movement. Elias navigated them with skill, relying on human ingenuity and experience. As he progressed deeper, he began to feel a connection with the alien device. It seemed to anticipate his movements, adjusting its challenges to match his skill and intelligence. He realized that this was not just a test of strength or speed, but of character. The device was evaluating humanity itself through its potential for courage, creativity, and perseverance. Hours passed, and Elias grew tired but resolute. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He was not just exploring for himself. He represented all of humanity. Every choice he made, every challenge he overcame, reflected the human spirit. Finally, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber, larger than any he had yet encountered. At its center was a structure of crystalline ice, radiating energy in complex patterns. The alien device hovered above it, pulsing in rhythm with the cavern. Elias approached cautiously, aware that this was the culmination of the trial. The energy surged as he drew near, forming intricate patterns that floated around him. Elias studied them carefully, deciphering the sequences and aligning his movements with their rhythm. The structure responded, stabilizing as he interacted with it. He realized that the device had created a system that required not just intelligence, but intuition, courage, and adaptability. He extended his hand toward the central crystal. The moment he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through him, stronger than anything he had experienced before. Images flooded his mind, human cities in space, starships exploring distant worlds, and a future shaped by courage and ingenuity. He saw both the potential and the dangers. And he understood that humanity's success depended on choice and action. The chamber trembled violently, but Elias remained steady. He had learned to trust his instincts, to act decisively, and to embrace the challenges before him. The alien device pulsed in approval, its light brightening as the energy patterns aligned perfectly. Elias took a deep breath, knowing he had passed another stage of the trial. The cavern was still dangerous, the ice unstable, but he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's potential had been revealed to him, and now it was up to him to carry that knowledge forward as he prepared to continue deeper into the frozen depths. Elias knew one thing with absolute certainty: the challenges ahead would be even greater, but he was ready. He had faced the unknown, survived, and proven that human courage and ingenuity could meet the test. And in the frozen silence of Europa, the alien device pulsed steadily. Waiting for the next act of bravery, Elias paused at the edge of the massive chamber, catching his breath. The alien device hovered above the crystalline structure, pulsing steadily. The air hummed with energy, and the ice walls shimmered in every color imaginable. He had passed the trials so far. But something deep in his gut told him that the most dangerous challenge was still ahead. The device had been testing him, shaping him, but now it wanted more. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Each movement was deliberate, careful. The ice beneath him was solid, yet he felt its vibrations pulsing through his boots, warning him that a single misstep could be catastrophic. Elise's training had taught him to respect danger, but his experience here had taught him to move with it, to anticipate it, to use it. As he approached the center of the chamber, the alien device responded. Pulses of light formed intricate patterns in the air, surrounding him like a cage of energy. Elias studied them closely. Each pattern seemed to have a rhythm, a logic. If he moved too quickly, the patterns shifted and closed off pathways. If he hesitated, they changed unpredictably. He realized that the device was testing more than intelligence or courage. It was testing adaptability, the ability to learn and act under pressure. He moved carefully, following the logic of the patterns. Step by step, he navigated the shifting energy, each motion precise, each decision deliberate. The chamber trembled as if responding to his choices, and he could hear the faint cracking of ice in the distance. The device was alive in a way that made no sense, yet Elias felt a strange kinship with it. They were communicating without words. Suddenly, the floor beneath him shifted violently. A massive crack opened, and he leaped instinctively to a nearby crystal pillar, landing with precision. The energy patterns pulsed brighter in response, acknowledging his success. Elias realized that every challenge he faced was designed to measure the qualities that made humans unique: courage, creativity, and the ability to act decisively in the face of danger. He pressed on, moving toward the central crystalline structure. The alien device responded, emitting a low hum that resonated through the ice. The energy patterns grew more complex, forming sequences that demanded rapid calculation and instinctive action. Elias deciphered the sequences as he moved, predicting the shifts and adjusting his path. Each success brought a surge of energy that stabilized sections of the ice around him, giving him temporary safety. At last, he reached the base of the central structure. The crystalline surface was warm beneath his gloves, pulsing with a strange energy that seemed almost alive. Above it hovered the orb he had seen before, glowing brighter than ever. Elias extended his hand, hesitating for only a moment before touching it. The moment his fingers made contact, the chamber was filled with light. Images flashed in his mind, faster and more intense than ever before. He saw civilizations of humans thriving among the stars, technological marvels beyond imagination, and societies built on cooperation, courage, and ingenuity. He also saw the consequences of failure, greed, fear, and hesitation leading to collapse, extinction, and loss of potential. Elias staggered back. Overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the vision, the orb pulsed again, calmer this time, as if offering him guidance. He realized that the device was revealing not only knowledge, but responsibility. Humanity could reach these heights, but only if they embraced the qualities that had allowed them to survive so far: intelligence, courage, and resilience. He steadied himself and studied the central structure more closely. Patterns of energy flowed through it, forming a network that extended beyond the chamber, through the ice, and perhaps even into space. The device was teaching him how to harness this energy, how to interact with it safely. Every movement, every touch, every decision mattered. A mistake could destabilize the entire chamber. Elias worked carefully, learning from the device as it tested him. He mapped the energy flows in his mind, aligning them with the crystalline structures, stabilizing sections of the ice, and understanding the logic behind the alien design. It was a lesson in patience, observation, and application, the qualities that defined human ingenuity. Hours seemed to pass, though he had no way of knowing for sure. The device pulsed steadily, responding to his progress. Elias felt himself becoming part of a greater system, a network of energy, knowledge, and understanding. He was not merely a human in an alien chamber. He was a participant in a process that connected his species to something far greater than themselves. Suddenly, the device emitted a high-pitched resonance, and the energy patterns around him coalesced into a single, massive sequence. The chamber trembled violently, and chunks of ice broke away from the walls and ceiling. Elias realized that this was the final test, the culmination of everything he had faced so far. He would have to combine all his skills, all his courage, and all his understanding to succeed. He took a deep breath and stepped into the center of the sequence. Energy flowed around him, forming barriers, pathways, and puzzles that required rapid adaptation. Elias moved instinctively, predicting the shifts, adjusting his position, interacting with the crystalline structures to maintain stability. The chamber shook violently, but he held his ground. Using his knowledge and intuition to navigate the dangers, the orb above him pulsed again, and he felt a surge of energy that seemed to synchronize with his heartbeat. He realized that the device was testing not just his actions but his character, measuring the qualities that made humans exceptional. Every choice mattered, every decision had consequences, and every act of courage reinforced the bond between him and the alien system. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the energy patterns stabilized. The chamber stopped trembling, and the orb hovered calmly above the central structure. Elias collapsed to his knees, exhausted but exhilarated. He had passed the final test. The device had accepted him, recognizing his courage, intelligence, and adaptability. He looked around the chamber, breathing heavily. The ice walls shimmered with a new light, and the crystalline structures glowed more brightly than ever. Elias realized that the device had not only tested him, but had also transformed the environment, preparing it for the next phase of human understanding. As he rose to his feet, he felt a subtle change within himself. The knowledge he had gained from the orb was immense, far beyond what he could fully comprehend in the moment. Equations, maps, and technological concepts flowed through his mind, offering solutions to problems humanity had struggled with for centuries. He understood that this knowledge was not a gift to be hoarded, but a responsibility to be shared. Elias began to move toward the chamber's exit, feeling the weight of his discovery. The ice beneath him was stable now, responding to his movements as if acknowledging his mastery. The alien device followed him, pulsing steadily, as if guiding him back to the surface. He realized that he had been chosen not just for his bravery, but for his ability to lead humanity into a new era. Above him, the fissures in the ice had stabilized, and the cavern seemed to breathe with a quiet energy. Elias understood that the trials had been designed to reveal the potential of his species. to test the qualities that would allow humans to thrive beyond their home planet. Courage, ingenuity, adaptability, and cooperation were the keys to survival and advancement. As he approached the exit, he paused to look back at the alien device one last time. It pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat, a silent acknowledgement of his achievement. Elias knew that the true challenge was only beginning. Humanity would have to rise to meet the opportunities and responsibilities that this knowledge offered. The frozen depths of Europa had tested him, transformed him, and revealed what humans could achieve when they dared to take risks. Stepping onto the solid ice beyond the cavern, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was not just an explorer. He was a messenger, a guide, and a representative of humanity's potential. The discoveries he had made, the knowledge he had gained, and the lessons he had learned would shape the future of his species. He activated his communicator and contacted the team above. Mara, Dr. Havel, you need to see this. Europa is more than a frozen moon. It's a doorway. Humanity has the chance to change everything if we are brave enough to take it. The voices on the other end were filled with awe and disbelief. They could hear the excitement in his tone, the certainty that he had seen something extraordinary. Elias knew that the next steps would be critical. Humanity could rise to the stars, harness new technologies, and explore new worlds. But only if they acted with courage, intelligence, and unity. As the team prepared to descend into the chamber, Elias looked up at Jupiter hanging in the sky above Europa. The swirling gas giant seemed almost to acknowledge the presence of the alien device and the human who had passed its trials. He felt a deep sense of connection to something far greater than himself, a network of knowledge and potential that extended beyond the solar system. Elias smiled faintly. Feeling the thrill of discovery and the weight of responsibility, the frozen depths had revealed the possibilities of humanity, and he had proven that courage and ingenuity could overcome even the most formidable challenges. The future was uncertain, but it was full of promise as he prepared to guide his team into the chamber. Elias knew one thing with absolute certainty. The frozen depths of Europa had changed him, and through him they could change all of humanity. The trials had tested the limits of human courage and intelligence, and humanity had passed. Now it was time to take the next step. And as the alien device pulsed steadily above the crystalline structure, Elias felt the first true spark of a new era for his species, a time when courage, ingenuity, and determination could shape the destiny of humanity across the stars. Elias emerged from the cavern, his breath visible in the cold Europa air. The alien device pulsed softly behind him, resting now as if it had completed its trial. The frozen expanse stretched endlessly under the dim glow of Jupiter above, but Elias felt something had changed. He himself had changed. The knowledge he had gained, the visions he had seen, the trials he had overcome, they had all shaped him into something more than an explorer. He was a bridge between humanity and something far greater than he could have imagined. Mara. Dr. Havel, he called, his voice echoing across the ice. His team rushed toward him, suits dusted with frost, eyes wide with relief and wonder. Captain, are you okay? Mara asked, concern mixed with awe. I've never been better, Elias said, though he was exhausted. His mind still buzzed with the energy of the alien device. But we don't have much time. The ice around the cavern is stabilizing, but not permanently. We need to document everything quickly and prepare to move. Dr. Havel shook his head in disbelief. Elias, what you've experienced? It's beyond anything we could have expected. The device. It's teaching, testing, and guiding all at once. And you passed. Yes, I passed, Elias interrupted, smiling faintly. But this isn't about me. It's about humanity. We have a chance to change everything, but only if we use what we've learned wisely. The team followed him to the research vessel, where instruments and portable scanners had already begun recording the alien structures. Elias moved carefully, ensuring every energy flow, every crystalline formation, and every symbol was captured. He felt a strange energy lingering in the air, almost as if the device itself were watching, approving of his actions. Hours passed as the team documented the cavern and the device. Elias explained the patterns, the sequences, and the lessons he had learned. The alien technology was unlike anything humans had created. It was intuitive, adaptable, and capable of responding to the character of the user. The device had chosen him as humanity's representative because he had displayed qualities that the alien intelligence valued: courage, intelligence, adaptability, and a willingness to risk everything for discovery. Finally, the documentation was complete. Elias turned to his team, his expression serious. We need to understand what this means for humanity. This knowledge, it's powerful. It could allow us to advance faster than ever before, explore farther, and achieve things we never thought possible. But we must use it responsibly. If we fail to act wisely, we could destroy ourselves before we even leave our solar system. Mara nodded, her face grim but determined. We'll follow your lead, Captain. But how do we begin? There's so much to learn, so much to understand. Elias placed a hand on the console, feeling the residual energy that still hummed in the instruments. We start by learning, testing, and sharing what we can. Step by step, we teach, we innovate, we explore, and we adapt. Humanity's potential is greater than we've ever realized, but we have to rise to meet it. The journey back to the surface was tense but manageable. The ice beneath the cavern had stabilized, thanks to the subtle influence of the alien device. Elias watched Europa's frozen plains stretch endlessly before him, reflecting Jupiter's light in dazzling patterns. He felt a sense of awe and humility. Humanity had survived many dangers before, but this was different. The universe was offering them a gift, and with it came responsibility. Once aboard the ship, Elias activated the ship's communications systems. Control, this is Captain Wren. Europa has been explored. We have encountered an alien device that has tested human potential and granted knowledge beyond our current understanding. Preparing for full report and data transfer. The response from Mission Control was immediate. Captain Wren, please clarify. Are you in danger? Do you require extraction? No immediate danger, Elias replied. But this is more than a mission report. This is an opportunity. The device has revealed concepts and technologies that could allow humanity to advance exponentially. We need to proceed carefully, but with courage and purpose. Humanity's future is at stake. As the data transfer began, Elias looked out at the frozen landscape. The alien device hovered momentarily, pulsing softly, then gradually descended back into the cavern. It had completed its interaction with humanity. But Elias sensed that it was leaving a connection, a way for future explorers to continue the dialogue. It was a silent acknowledgement, a reminder that humans were now part of something larger, hours later. As the ship ascended through Europa's icy atmosphere, Elias reflected on the journey. He thought about the trials in the cavern, the energy patterns, the orb, and the visions. Each test had been a reflection of human potential, pushing him to demonstrate courage, ingenuity, and adaptability. And humanity had passed. He turned to Mara and Dr. Hevel. We've been given a gift, yes, but it's also a challenge. The universe is bigger than we can imagine, and it's not waiting for us to catch up. We have to rise, not just as explorers, but as a species capable of making wise choices, taking risks and embracing our potential. Mara nodded. We'll do it, Captain. Humanity has survived countless challenges, and now we have a chance to thrive in ways we never imagined. Dr. Hevel added softly, it's inspiring, really. We are capable of so much. And we've seen it firsthand through you, Elias. Your courage. It's a reminder of what humans can achieve when we dare to act. Elias smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility balanced with hope. Then we carry this forward. We study, we experiment, we explore, and we teach. We share this knowledge responsibly. We grow together. And maybe, just maybe, we inspire others to do the same. The ship left Europa behind, rising into the shadow of Jupiter. Elias gazed out at the swirling storms of the gas giant, feeling a deep sense of connection to the universe. Humanity had been tested, and they had proven themselves worthy. The frozen depths had revealed both the dangers and the possibilities that lay ahead. As the ship set course for Earth, Elias began to prepare a message for the global scientific community. It would be the most important message in human history. A declaration of what they had discovered, what they had learned, and what they could achieve. The alien device had provided knowledge, but it was humans who would turn that knowledge into action, shaping the future of their species. Back on the ship, Elias reviewed the data one last time. He marveled at the designs, the energy flows, and the possibilities that had been revealed. There were solutions to energy crises, advancements in propulsion, and ideas for technologies that could expand humanity's reach across the stars. But he also saw warnings, misuse, greed, and fear could undo everything. The lessons of the frozen depths were clear. Humanity's future depended on courage, ingenuity, and moral responsibility. He looked at his team. We've been given an opportunity, but it's up to us to act. The universe is full of challenges, full of dangers, and full of possibilities. We cannot be afraid to take risks, to explore, and to grow. This is what humans do best. The team nodded in agreement. They were tired, yes, but invigorated. The frozen depths had tested them, but they had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready for what lay ahead. The alien device had sparked something in them, a realization of human potential that could not be ignored. As Earth appeared in the distance, a small blue and green sphere in the vast blackness of space, Elias felt a surge of pride and hope. Humanity had survived, had risen to the challenge, and had learned lessons that would guide them for generations. The frozen depths of Europa had tested one man, but through him, they had tested the entire species. Elias stood on the observation deck, watching the planet grow larger with every passing moment. He reflected on the journey, the trials, and the knowledge gained. The alien device had been a teacher, a tester, and a guide. Humanity had passed the test, but the real work was only beginning. He whispered to himself, not as a command, but as a promise. We will rise. We will explore. We will grow. And we will meet the universe with courage, ingenuity, and hope. The ship entered Earth's orbit, and Elias prepared to deliver the message that would change humanity forever. The frozen depths had tested them, revealed the potential of the species, and sparked a new era of exploration and discovery. The trials had been dangerous, the risks high, but the rewards, knowledge, growth, hope, were greater than anyone had imagined. As the world below prepared to receive the message, Elias knew that the frozen depths of Europa had not just changed him, but had changed humanity. A new era had begun, one defined by courage, ingenuity, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. The universe awaited, and humanity was ready. And for the first time, Elias truly understood the words that had guided him through the trials. Sometimes, one individual's courage can change the fate of an entire species. The frozen depths had tested him. He had risked everything, and everything had changed.